Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Workers' Credit Union studios at Fitchburg Access Television. I am your host, George Merijanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club meets every Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. in rooms 142 and 143 of the newly renovated McKay Complex at the university. And with me once again for this edition of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, recipient of the prestigious FATV's Boulder Award. He's assisted in the control room and also behind the camera by fellow resident Brian Bigelow, a longtime Wachusett Chess Club member. And sitting across from me is my associate, a longtime chess tournament player, chess photographer, chess author, Wachusett Chess Club statistician, assistant webmaster, my co-host, Dave Couture of Westminster. Hello there, Dave.
Hi, George.
Well, Dave, we have some exciting news to announce to our viewers at the end of the program. We have a special announcement.
Yes.
But we're going to devote our program to a major event. However, that ended exactly a week ago, on Columbus Day.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And it was what was the event? You tell me what event.
Massachusetts Open.
It was the Massachusetts Open.
The 89th.
Wow.
89th.
So it was the 89th Mass Open.
Yep.
And it was held in Quincy. Mm-hmm. And it was held over the Columbus Day weekend, 3 days. And it was a 6-round tournament, 2 rounds per day.
Yep.
And we actually, in that event, we had 2 grandmasters who live in Massachusetts who played in that event.
Yes.
Okay. But we have a surprise winner.
Yes.
None of the grandmasters won the tournament. They were expected to.
Yes.
One of them.
Yep.
But who won the tournament? You tell me who won this year's the 89th Massachusetts Open State Championship.
Alan Song, who
is
he an international master?
He's a national master.
National master?
Yeah,
okay.
he has no international title, but he is a national master.
Okay.
And he actually gained 52 U.S. chess rating points from that tournament. I mean, his rating going into the tournament was below 2,200. But he had achieved a 2,200 plus rating before, but had dropped below. But now he's back over 2,200.
Right.
But how did he do it? How did Alan Song, who was lower rated among the masters who played in this tournament, he had to do something with these grandmasters because they were there.
So all I know is he took a half-point bye in the first round.
Yes, he took a bye, half-point bye, yes, in the first round.
And then I think he won. I think he won 3 in a row.
Yes, he won 3 in a row.
3 in a row, and then so the 5th round, I think he played.
He played Grandmaster. Yeah, let's see a picture of the photo of the Grandmaster. He played Alexander Ivanov. We're going to see a photo here. Dame showing our 14-time Massachusetts State Champion Alexander Ivanov. He's 65 years old. He has won, again, as I said, he's won the state championship 14 times since he came to the United States and settled in Massachusetts in 1988.
Okay.
So there's Ivanov.
So he got a draw. He got a draw.
He got a draw in that game, which is quite. But you know what the rating difference between Alan Song's rating and Ivanov's rating?
Probably a few hundred, right?
Close to 360 point difference. That's a big difference. Now in the final round, Alan Song was paired against the other grandmaster.
Right. And he was half a point behind him.
Because and actually, who was this grandmaster? I'll tell you who it was.
Yeah,
All right. It was Grandmaster Fidel Corrales Jimenez. Yes. And Darren is going to show a photo. He is a Cuban-born Grandmaster, and he was the highest-rated player in this tournament in Quincy at the Mass Open. And what he did is he took a bye. He was leading the tournament going into the 5th round.
Yes, by half a point. Yep.
Yeah, right. He was a 4-point. He had won 4 straight. Alan Song was a 3.5. Yeah. But in the 5th round, he opted for a bye.
Oh, he took a bye.
He took a bye in round 5, which set up a pairing in the final round with Alan Song playing Grandmaster Jimenez.
And Alan Song had to win.
He had to win, yes. Yeah. And which he did.
Which he did.
Which he did. Now, there's something very interesting about Grandmaster Jimenez.
Yes. Oh, Jimenez. Okay.
Okay. Grandmaster Jimenez actually was delisted by the World Chess Federation, which we know is the acronym FIDE, because he was not a member of the Cuban Chess Federation. Remember, he was a member of the Cuban Chess Federation, but they actually removed him. The Cuban Chess Federation removed Grandmaster Jimenez because he had been absent from playing for Cuba for more than 6 months. So they removed him. They delisted him.
Okay.
And FIDE said, oh, well, you're no longer playing for Cuba because they have delisted you as a member.
Okay.
They eventually reinstated him, not with the Cuban Chess Federation refused to take him back. He wanted to be reinstated as a Cuban player.
Yeah.
They said, no, we're not going to take you back. So what Grandmaster Jimenez did, he actually, FIDE allowed him to play under the FIDE flag.
Okay.
He could play, and that's been done with players in the past who've been stateless.
Right.
We've had actually chess players who have become stateless in their status.
Ferrugia recently.
Yeah, right. Ferrugia is one player. Yeah. Now, but what he is now, he came to the United States, settled in Massachusetts, and if he stays here 2 years, he can now start playing for the United States in international competition.
Okay.
But right now, I don't believe he qualifies because he hasn't lived here long enough.
Okay.
All right. So we saw photos of Alexander Ivanov, which Darren showed, and also Grandmaster Jimenez. Those two tied for second and third place. They scored 4.5 points out of 5.
Okay.
But National Master Alan Song finished with 5 points and won the tournament.
Yep.
And by doing so, he became the youngest player ever to win the Massachusetts Open, which, by the way, started in the first Mass Open was in 1930. Here he is, Alan Song, 18 years old. You said he's a sophomore at Wellesley?
16.
I'm 16. He's a 16-year-old sophomore from Wellesley High School. And he, by the way, he won the 2018 Metro West Chess Club Championship in Natick. Yeah, he won it with a perfect score, by the way, in 2018. So we congratulate Alan Song, who's one of the state's strongest players by winning the. And by the way, he's not the only. Again, he's the youngest 16-year-old. There were 3 other players who were 16 years old when they won the Massachusetts Championship. That was John Curto, a living legend. He is he's going to be celebrating his 90th birthday next month, November 14th. And we're going to do a program about him. Our next chess chat is going to be about John Curto, a tribute to him. He won it in 1948 at age 16. And then the Grandmaster Patrick Wolf won it in 1984, several months after turning 16. And then in 1988, Grandmaster Ilya Gurevich, who grew up in Worcester, he came from what was it in Ukraine, Kiev.
Okay.
Came with his family, and at the age of 16, won the 1988 Massachusetts Championship.
Okay.
Now, we're going to get into a game which is very rare. We're able, thanks to your connection with Alan Song, he was able to send you one of his games from this year's Mass Open. It was played in round 2, I believe.
Round 2, so it was the first round he was playing in.
Right. Okay, now who was his opponent in round 2?
Andrew Fang.
Andrew Fang. Now, you told me that this Andrew Fang that he played was actually not from Massachusetts. He may be a student.
That's right. That's right.
He may be a student here.
We suspect he's a student,
because he's listed with the U.S. Chess Federation as from Pennsylvania. But I suspect he may be here as a student.
Right.
He may be attending one of the Massachusetts colleges. So, who had white in the game? Alan Song played against
So
Andrew.
Alan had white.
Okay, so what did he play as his first move?
And he opened with e4.
Okay, a good opening move.
Good opening move, opens lines for the bishop and queen.
Okay, we see it on our screen here. And to which Andrew Fang responded, moving the pawn from e7 to e6. e6 was his move. Now, is this a characteristic move of a certain defense?
Yes, that's the French defense.
French defense. Not as popular as the Sicilian defense, which we've presented a lot of Sicilian defenses, but it's a solid defense. So how did Alan Song continue on move 2?
He plays d4, and as we've said before, if you're white and you can play e4 and d4, you should you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
No, you can't go wrong, especially if you could actually occupy the center or even control it.
Right.
And in the opening, the fight is over control of the center.
Right.
Okay. Now, Andrew Feng, in his reply to Alan Song's second move, plays the pawn to d5. Okay, and that's the standard move to play in the French defense.
Right.
Okay. Now how many choices does White have here now on the third move?
The big three choices are knight to c3.
Developing the knight there.
Knight to d2, so that if the bishop comes down, you can block it.
It avoids a pin, right, on the knight.
And the other is the advanced variation, which is immediately locks things up.
Right.
But Alan played knight to c3 as his third move.
Right.
That's the most common.
Okay. Now, Black has choices here.
Yeah.
Black, as you said, could play this bishop on f8, bring it to b4, and pin the knight.
Pin the knight.
And that's a popular.
And it would be threatening
You're
to
right,
grab
exactly.
that pawn. Yep.
Yeah, because the knight is actually protecting this pawn.
Yep.
It couldn't be able to recapture because of the pin.
Yep.
But what Andrew Feng played was developing this knight on g8 to f6. Knight f6 was his move, second move for Andrew Feng.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So attacking that pawn a second time.
Okay. Now, are there choices for White here? Remember, choice in chess, you have choices.
Right.
You're not limited to just one move. You can make a decision between several moves.
Yep.
So, what is possible here for White?
The big two. Big two choices are either bishop here pinning the knight.
Bishop g5 pinning the knight is good.
You could possibly even exchange
that's
right away.
Yeah. But what did he play?
But I think, this is most common, is e5, kicking that knight.
Okay, so that's going to force that knight to move.
Force the knight to move.
Attack.
Yeah.
Now, this advance of the pawn to e5 actually gives this opening in the French a name. This is a variation that was played by Wilhelm Steinitz. Now, who is Wilhelm Steinitz?
Who is Wilhelm Steinitz?
Yeah.
I'll leave you to tell.
Okay. Wilhelm Steinitz was the first official world champion. He won the world championship in 1886.
Okay.
And he was champion from 1886 to 1994. When he
1894.
I mean 1894. I'm saying 1894, and then he was defeated then by Emanuel Lasker.
Yep.
Yeah, but I found it something very interesting. I have a number of books on chess, on the moves and the openings, but I also have on chess history. I found out, according to the Oxford Companion of Chess, which is an excellent encyclopedic reference book on chess, that this move, which bears the name Steinitz variation, was played by Steinitz only once.
Really?
in serious play. I found that astounding.
Yeah, that's
that
odd.
Steinitz only played this once in 1866. He did not play it any other time except in 1866.
That's odd.
I don't know what event it was. I got to do some research.
Yep.
But again, it's a very interesting trivia question.
Yeah.
This variation was only played once by Steinitz. All right, so here is what Feng did. He plays knight f to d7. Knight d7. He could have gone to e4, but this is a much better retreat to playing knight f d7. Okay, so it is now White's move.
White's
what did
fourth
he do?
move, he plays f4.
Okay, which will reinforce exactly reinforces the pawn on e5, which is necessary. Now, Black hits at the base of this pawn chain here and plays the pawn to c5. So he would like to, attack the center with the pawn on to c5. Okay, we see that. Yep, we see it on our board here. c5. What does White do?
So Alan develops his knight to f3.
Good move. Again, it's very important to start developing pieces here.
Yep.
In response to that, Andrew Feng now plays his knight on b8 to c6. Knight c6. More pressure being put on the pawn on d4, but again, it's adequately defended.
Right.
With the queen and the knight on f3.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's White's move. What did Alan Song do now?
So he plays bishop to e3.
Okay. Developing another piece.
Developing another piece, adding to the defense of this, adding another attacker to that pawn on c5.
Okay. All right. So Andrew Feng now plays on his seventh move, the pawn to a6.
Yeah.
Is there a plan? Does this indicate a plan of his by playing a6?
It looks like he's going to push the pawn up to b5 next, and
it looks
perhaps
like
keep coming. Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of a6 is to support the advance of the b pawn to b5. Okay. Alan Song's move, eighth move. What does he do?
A3, which
Yeah.
I think as we determined was the most common move, but we're not quite sure why.
Yes, right. It is now the most common move because other moves that are playable are certainly developing, for example, the bishop.
The bishop, sure.
So they're prepared for castling.
Right.
But he chose A3
Yep.
on his 8th move. But Black is going to carry out his plan of playing the pawn on B7 to B5, and that's what he did.
Yep.
So B5 on the 8th move by Andrew Feng. Okay, it's Alan Song's now 9th move.
He develops the queen to D2.
Okay. All right. So queen is on D2. All right. So now Andrew Feng on his 9th move brings the queen on D8 to B6. Again, putting more pressure on the pawn on D4.
Yeah.
Okay. We see that. We see the queen on B6 on our monitor. All right. It's White's move. It's White's 10th move coming up. What does White do now? What does Alan Song do now?
Well, this is kind of an interesting move. Knight to E2.
Okay.
So rather than develop, he's repositioning the knight. And
well, could it be this relocation of the knight is to reinforce the defense of this pawn on D4 with DC3?
Could be, yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that he wants to strengthen the pawn chain by playing C3.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't understand why he would actually move the same piece again to do this. All right, so after knight E2, Black, here's one thing we should point out to our viewers.
Sure, yeah.
When playing the French defense, one of the big, if there's a drawback to playing the French defense, it's the Black's light squared bishop.
Which is called the French bishop.
It's called the French bishop, also known as the problem bishop.
Right.
Because how do you actually get this bishop developed properly?
Right.
It's, again, this pawn on E6 blocks it from coming out along this diagonal. But again, the only move that bishop has to be brought into the game is B7, and that's what he played.
Yep.
And that was the whole purpose of playing A6 followed by B7 to vacate this B7 square for the bishop.
And we're going to see as the game goes, that bishop never gets into the game.
I know. But again, that is the drawback to the French defense. Again, when I started playing chess many years ago, I adopted the French defense, but I gave it up because of the French bishop, the problem bishop.
You have to be very patient.
You're very, very patient. Okay, so it's Alan Song's move. What did he do on his 11th move?
So he decides he's going to start launching an attack.
Oh, wow. Exactly.
G4.
So, yeah, that certainly indicates there's an attack coming here with G4. All right. Andrew Feng's move, what does he do on his 11th move? This knight on C6, he brings over to A5. Now, does he have a threat? Usually, when you bring the knight to the side of the board, what's that old saying about the knight?
Knight on the rim is dim.
Yeah. So, but you hear, does he not have a threat by bringing the knight to A5? Where does that knight intend to go?
Well, looks like it's going to go to C4, attacking the queen and the bishop.
And if he can think in here and do that, forcing the queen to move to save itself, he would actually snap and eliminate that bishop. All right. So how does Alan Song respond to knight A5?
D takes C5.
Okay, he takes there, which actually attacks the queen, by the way. And of course, Feng has two different ways to recapture. He's not going to capture the queen, actually, because he'd lose the queen.
Right.
So he takes back, actually, I believe, with the bishop. Bishop takes the pawn on C5. That was his move. Bishop takes C5. Okay. So what is Alan Song going to do?
Alan plays bishop takes C5 as well.
He also takes bishop takes C5 on the 13th move. And, of course, he has to recapture. And Feng recaptures with the knight. Not with the queen.
Right.
He brings the knight here because that's a much better move. Because he also has a threat. Isn't there a threat with this knight now? Is this knight threatening to sink maybe into here and attack the queen? That's a threat.
Right.
All right. It's White's move. What does he
White plays B4, which sort of looks like he's forking the knights and winning a piece.
A fork like this, he looks like he's going to lose a piece here.
Right.
However,
but in fact,
he doesn't lose a piece because Feng, as Black, has this move, knight E4, which attacks the queen.
So White has to deal with that.
Has to deal with the attack on the queen. So the queen has to move.
He plays it to D4, offering potentially to trade.
Right, exactly. Now, Black has to make the important decision. Do I trade queens or do I retreat the queen and avoid the exchange?
Right.
And he chose, instead of actually moving the queen back to c7, which he could have done, he chose to exchange queens.
Exchange,
yeah. And as you pointed out to me, the computers say there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with
no problem
queens.
with that. No.
I know there's some players who would not want to exchange queens, but again, the computers say, hey, it's okay. It's okay to exchange queens.
In this case, yeah.
Now, all right. So now it's a recapture.
So Alan plays knight takes d4.
Right, with the knight on the e file.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So now what Feng does. This knight, by the way, this knight is still under attack, so he has to move this knight to save it.
Yep.
But he sinks into c4.
Yep.
Knight c4, which is actually move 16 for black.
Yep.
Okay. So what? How does?
White plays bishop d3.
Okay. I see an attack on the knight on e4.
Yep.
For one thing.
Yep.
So, I think black does not want to have this exchange, which would actually double these pawns basically.
Yep.
So he chooses to save this knight under attack by the bishop, and he plays the knight to c3.
c3 and
on his 17th move. Okay.
Sure.
So seems like a good move.
Yeah.
All right. No. So he now, what does Alan Sung do? He puts the rook on g1.
To g1.
Okay. We see that. Yeah. It just moved there.
To help out with the attack.
Rook g1. All right. So now Andrew Feng says, I'm going to castle. Now, before we present that, you know, when the queens are off the board like this, there was no need for black to castle now here.
Right.
He could actually just simply pushed up with his king, centralize the king, and get ready. Yeah, we're still in the middle game.
Right.
We haven't reached an end game. But again, this connects the rooks.
Right.
And may get them into maybe in place, getting them on certain files, like the C file or maybe the D file. But there was no, especially if White's intention is to attack on the king side, why would you castle into this? All right, so but he chose the castle.
He chose the castle.
He chose the castle on the 18th move. All right, so what does Alan Song do now?
He continues the attack, knight to g5.
Oh, don't we have? Wait, we have a threat here, a major threat.
Two pieces attacking that pawn.
Yes. So he doesn't want to lose his pawn because we have two pieces attacking him.
Yep.
So he plays the pawn up to h6 and he attacks the knight. h6. Right. The knight can't stay there.
And now, somewhat surprised move, knight to h7.
Yep.
Attacking the rook, but...
Yes. So the rook has to save itself.
Yep.
So the rook now, he moves the rook over to he has a choice of files here, but he chooses the e file. Rook e8 is what he played. Okay.
And Alan continues the attack.
Oh boy.
With g5, and now we come to the turning point in the game.
Okay. Now, it's black's move.
It's black's move.
And black actually now makes a mistake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, he only had one or two possible ways to save the position, and this was the best.
Yes.
Just blocking.
Yes, because it blocks the bishop defending the knight, and it allows actually the king to capture the capture the knight.
Right.
He didn't shoot. He didn't play that move.
He didn't play that move.
So what did he do instead?
He played knight to b2, attacking the bishop.
Oh, so he thinks he's going to go here and eliminate the bishop this way.
Yep.
Where the superior move was actually to play the knight actually this knight. Yep. Keep this knight here and move this knight on c3.
Yep.
The e4 to block the defense of the knight.
Yep.
All right. So now, what does White do? What does Alan Song do now?
He plays g takes h6.
Oh wow!
We do have to get moving a little bit here.
Okay. Okay. So all right. So he put the g6. So now we get eliminated. Okay. So knight takes
d3
check. Okay.
Check.
And this is automatic. He recaptures.
White has to take back.
C takes d3 is what he does. And now Feng takes the knight with the king. King takes the knight at h7. That was his move. Now we have what?
Rook takes g7 check.
Okay. Forcing now. Well, he actually now he takes this pawn, does he not?
Right. Yeah.
King takes the pawn on h6. That's his move. King h6. Now what does he do? White. Alan Song.
Rook takes f7.
That's his 25th move. Wow, we have a bishop under attack.
Under attack.
And he has to save this bishop.
Yeah.
And the only move he has, he can't go to c6 because the knight would take it.
Right.
He plays bishop c8, saves the bishop by playing bishop c8 on the 25th move. Now what does Alan Song do?
Alan plays rook c1.
Wow,
so
an attack
he's
on the
attacking the knight.
Oh, it's got to save itself. It's got to retreat.
Yeah, and if the knight moves, that rook's going to come down.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
The knight saves itself by going to a4. Knight a4 was Feng's moved, and now we have wow.
Rook to c7.
We got double rooks here. So very dangerous on the 27th move.
Checkmate is being threatened.
So now Black says, wait a minute, I got to make a run for it. This is very dangerous.
Yeah.
His king on h6, he moves up to h5 and thinks he's going to make a run for it. Or is he going to be able to make a run for it?
But he won't be able to.
No, because now it's White's move after king h5. What did he do here?
Yeah, if he had played rook h7 check, that would have been a little faster, but this wins as well. Rook to f6.
Rook f6, okay. So now he realizes he doesn't want to be checked on the g5.
Right, this rook is going to...
So he plays, so Feng now plays the rook on e8 to g8. So he's never checked.
Right, to cover this
the
g
file. Right. If he's forced over to the g file with the king, at least he won't have a check by a rook on the g file. Okay, so now what does White do?
Rook to h7 check.
Oh, so the check does come on the 29th move. He only has one square to go to, and he went to king to g4. That's what he did. Okay, and now what? It's White's move, right?
Yep.
All right.
So White plays king to f2.
Oh, wow.
So that now he's covering this square if this pawn moves up.
All right. So now here's where Feng says, well, you know, maybe I throw a distraction.
Yeah, but we thought Feng probably knows it's going to be checkmate the next move.
He must have, yes.
So he's basically being a good sport.
He's strong enough to know it's going to be over.
He could have just resigned. But
he could have resigned here.
But he was basically being a good sport and saying, yeah, I'll let you finish this.
He says, here, have...
bishop to d7.
I said bishop d7. He went to d7.
Yep.
Right. He went to bishop d7. So he said, okay, to actually distract this rook.
Right, on the chance that he might take it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But
but that doesn't happen.
But he plays h3, and that's checkmate.
The game is over.
The game is over.
So this is a game that, again,
no squares for the king.
31 moves.
Yep.
And made Alan Song winning and becoming, again, by beating Grandmaster Jimenez in the last round, becomes this year's Massachusetts State champion.
Yep.
Congratulations to Alan.
Yep.
Now for the special announcement that we wanted to let our viewers know. We are very proud, very proud to know that our former Wachusett Chess Club champion, Carissa Yip, who won the Wachusett Chess Club Championship in 2014
at the perfect score.
Perfect score at the age of 10 years old.
Yes.
She yesterday actually, I will give the date. It actually happened on October. Today's the 18th. October 17th. Yep. Sunday, October 17th. Carissa Yip clinched first place in this year's U.S. Women's Championship at the St. Louis Chess Club, which is the #1 chess club in the country. She clinched it around the round before the last round. Yeah. So we are ecstatic.
She is the 2021 U.S. Women's Champion.
Yes, exactly. And we're very proud. And she broke records. She defeated 4 former U.S. Women's Champions in that tournament in St. Louis. She also did 5.
She won 5 in a row.
5 games in a row.
Because she had lost one of the middle rounds. It was looking like she wasn't doing that well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But she came back to win 5 in a row.
Right. Okay. So we want to let our viewers know that this is a great accomplishment by international master, former Wachusett Chess Club champion Carissa Yip, and we hope to have her back on the program. We've had her before, and we're looking forward to having Carissa Yip, our new U.S. Women's Champion. A great performance by our Carissa Yip. We're very proud of her accomplishment. And we'll see you next time on the next edition of Chess Chat.